Sounds good.
Welcome, Realm family, to another episode of Wrestling with the Realm podcast. I am one half of the power and glory of wrestling podcast. I'm Brian. And on the other side is the Hercules to my Paul Roma, my guy Will. Will, what are we talking about?
What's going on, everyone? Today we're gonna go over some recent news that just went down. Some recent stuff in pro wrestling. If you can't tell by the T-shirt I got on or the background, the final boss made himself his presence felt really last Friday on Smackdown, and he came out. He wanted to talk to Cody Rhodes, and it kind of really shaked up for me and Brian. I don't know if it was our WrestleMania thoughts or what we think is going to happen with our main events, our predictions there, but there's a whole lot we got to go over real quick
Yeah,
today.
we got to unpack it.
Yeah, we do. Brian, how about you get started?
All right. So I made my notes because, everything is complicated as everybody is. Like, some people are confused. I get that. But I think it's way more simple than what they were making it out to be. The Rock talking for 30 minutes. We didn't need 30 minutes for him to get this part of the story out. So, right off the bat, for anybody who's not paying attention and anybody who's not sure what's going on right now, The Rock is the devil, okay? He wants Cody's soul. He would like Cody to make a deal with the devil, him, who is The Rock, who is on the board, who's the final boss. He would like Cody to make a deal with the devil and be his corporate champion, a la Corporate Rock in '98 or WrestleMania 17 with Stone Cold and Vince, in the turn of Stone Cold making a deal with the devil. I believe they even said it then when I think JR said, he made a deal with the devil. I'm pretty sure JR had something akin to that with Mr. McMahon and Stone
Yeah.
Cold. So anybody who's not sure, that's what we're talking about. That's what The Rock is talking about. He would like a corporate champion because that's what's best for business. So I'll show my hand early. I think Cody is going to turn. That's the most logical thing to happen, is for Cody. This is where we get Cody Lander. He does take The Rock's offer. Some of the reasons why are he's sitting there and what appears to be he's off put or he's angry at The Rock for what he's saying. You can't believe that their friendship wasn't real. I think that's all Cody listening to what The Rock is saying and actually thinking about it and thinking, is this a good deal or a bad deal? Because Seth Rollins came out on Raw and basically laid it out what I was saying, what my wife is saying, who's watching it. If you're Cody and the answer is no, you tell The Rock no right away. Why are we dancing around this? There should be no thinking whatsoever in this. So the most logical thing is that Cody has to turn. I mean, that's kind of the baseline of where we're at right now. Will, what do you think about all of that? Like, is there anything that I'm missing?
You're not missing anything. You took our viewers down the logical route. Let me take them
Right.
down the unlogical route of
Let's
what
do it.
this all is.
Let's do it.
So, when I was growing up watching wrestling, John Cena has been handed this offer before millions of times. The opportunity with Triple H's authority to turn heel when Seth Rollins was the corporate champion, or even way back when with the Nexus, who were kind of like, how do I describe Nexus to someone who hasn't really seen them? Are you familiar with the Nexus? Maybe a
Yeah,
little bit?
yeah, I know about Nexus. I always took Nexus as like a better version of the invasion angle that they try to do with
Yep,
WCW.
100%.
Just a much better a much better version of that crummy angle.
Yeah, almost what they're trying to a little bit do with currently in NXT with these masked figures and all that. It's a combination of that and the Shield. But John Cena was offered a spot in the Nexus and actually wrestled with the Nexus leading up to their SummerSlam match where he tagged with Bret Hart and Chris
Oh,
Jericho. Man, maybe that's a retro rewatch
oh
we need to
boy.
tap into. John
I
Cena
was
and
not
Bret Hart.
expecting John Cena's name and Bret Hart's name to be in the same sentence for
Oh
being
yeah, they should have kept it that way,
wow.
Brandon. They should have
Ooh.
kept it that way. But
Why John was that bad, huh?
mm,
Oh man. Sorry,
um,
Bret Hart fans. I've given him compliments.
yes, recently in the last few
Yes.
months, I will.
Uh-huh.
But what I think they're trying to build Cody Rhodes to be something similar to a John Cena. He's advertised everywhere. He's already going to be in Vegas for the WWE community event, wherever all the superstars are going to be there. I'm
Hmm.
sure he's going to be signing stuff, kissing babies on the forehead, and taking pictures like the political figure Cody Rhodes is really. And he is WWE. He is the poster child. So, what if they are using this as like a test for Cody and he is not going to turn heel? Well, then who is going to be The Rock's corporate champion? Because I don't think it stops at Cody Rhodes. And as me and Brian were talking at work today, he had a few really good ideas. I think I'm going to go more down the lines of the favor.
Okay.
I think the favor could be The Rock helps CM Punk if he wins the Elimination Chamber, and CM Punk is the corporate champion that The Rock is looking for. Brian, you did have Brian every once in a while, guys, enters the wrestling matrix. He was touching it. We didn't have a whole lot of time to talk on my break, but he was touching the wrestling matrix with an idea of John Cena being the corporate champion.
Now, again, so this was just stuff I was thinking about today because now we've had SmackDown all the way through Raw to kind of digest this whole thing, and I there was little things that started popping into my head, and I'm not trying to say that I think John Cena should be the corporate champion or Punk or other.
No.
I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'm just saying what they have given us is either foreshadowing of what's going to happen with Cody or somebody else, or they're intentionally giving us the clues to point to who the actual corporate champions or corporate stooges are. So this morning I texted Will and I was like, hey man, see if you can find the social media post from The Rock from last year where he was talking about, which we couldn't find by the way, but it's
Yeah.
there, everybody. I promise that this happened. Um, and he said something about, I came back and I talked to Triple H and we talked about WrestleMania 40 and what was best for business was for me to be in the main event. And what's best for business is for it to be Roman Reigns versus The Rock. But then all you Cody crybabies, yada, yada, that whole thing.
Mm.
So that was kind of the language that he used. Then I started, like, it stuck out last night on Raw in particular because when CM Punk came out, he was mentioning what's best for business. So I was like, okay, there's more lingo. Now I know in the wrestling business, I just said it, the business, that phrase comes up a lot. But it's interesting the people who are saying these things with the story that we currently have going. So if you go back to the press conference after the Royal Rumble with John Cena says, I will be in the Elimination Chamber and I will headline WrestleMania because that's what's best for business. And I'll win my 17th championship because that's what's best for business. So on the face of it, didn't really think much of it that night. But now looking back at it, we've had mention from CM Punk that John Cena, he didn't earn his spot into the Elimination Chamber. So right away, that stands out, is that he's just being put in the chamber. He didn't earn it. And he's saying about he's doing this because it's best for business, which is what The Rock was saying. Then you take CM Punk a couple of weeks ago, he comes out with Cody and he's doing the I'm your friend, really laying into the I'm your friend, Cody, and I'll stab you in the front. I'll never stab you in the back. The Rock comes out on SmackDown and he builds up to the whole thing about how we're friends now. We're friends, Cody. So it's that same language again. So either these are things that are foreshadowing what's going to happen, or maybe there's something more to them to point to CM Punk or to point to John Cena, or it's all there just to confuse us and have us do podcasts that we put onto YouTube theorizing about this. And that's fine, by the way, because that's fun. Like this is the fun part, is trying to unravel it. But then last night when CM Punk comes out with Logan Paul, he says, when you get into the chamber, I'm Satan. Those are the words that he used. Now, I started this whole thing today by letting everybody know, in case you're not realizing it, The Rock is the devil, and he would like Cody Rhodes to make a deal with him. Now we have CM Punk using the same language about best for business, being your friend, I'm Satan. But we also have John Cena, who's just being placed into a match and saying it's best for business. And we know that the final boss has the ability to actually change and affect matches on a card, because that happened on Smackdown, that he took Cody out of the 6-man tag. So we know that now in kayfabe, The Rock, the final boss, has tampered with matches and changed what they were supposed to be, what they were advertised as. Cody made a point of saying, you advertised this match as a 6-man tag, and now you're pulling me out of it. All of that is super interesting. It's all intentional. It could just all be misdirection. Like one of the things we were saying today with John Cena, because that would kind of make me angry if John Cena comes back and he's a heel.
Yeah.
It would be the swerve, bro, and you wouldn't see it coming. But maybe John Cena is just not, I don't want to say, he could be reluctantly having to go along with what he's being told he has to do. Because when he has his press conference, he didn't sound over the moon about, I'm going to go to the Elimination Chamber and I'm going to win it and I'm going to do that. It was much more subdued and a little bit more, he looked like the Apollo 11 astronauts on their press conference when they got back, where you're like, boy, this is weird. You guys don't seem too stoked. Everybody's being super weird right now. Like him being put into that match, like maybe The Rock is trying to hedge his bet. If he can't get Cody, he's like the Joker now. If he can't get Batman to turn, he's got Harvey Dent. You know, like they're laying all these little trails out for us, and it could literally be any of those, but that's what makes it fun. But I definitely think all of that stuff is super intentional. They've been planning this longer than what we think they have, I think is what that shows. Because there's no way by accident John Cena is saying what he says and The Rock is using those same exact verbiage and words. That it's not an accident. Never an accident. It's all a work, Will, until it's not.
Yeah, agreed. I think me and you are both in agreement on the fact that someone is going to turn this Saturday. They're going to their alliance. So who is that? Who is going to turn their back on someone at the Elimination Chamber? All this smoke that they're showing, it needs to pay out, even in the tiniest. I think I have who I think is going to turn. In some way, I think it's going to be Seth Rollins.
Ooh, boy.
So I don't know if that is an attack on Cody. I really don't know. But all of the signs are kind of pointing to Seth Rollins finally losing his cool, because I think the fact that I know he feels he came out, I'm highly disrespected by the fact that you're even accepting or to go and meet with The Rock to talk about this offer, because I gave up everything for you to win that title. So let's say he loses the Elimination Chamber. You could have him go jump Cody or someone. I think he has to play the heel, and no matter what feud he's in, he has to play the heel.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
If it's CM Punk,
yep.
If it's John Cena, if it's Cody Rhodes, like he needs to match with one of those people.
Yeah.
He is the heel. Because all those guys, I don't think CM Punk is CM Punk. He is not a face nor a heel. Roman's a face now, obviously.
And we haven't talked about Roman in any of this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's the crazy interesting part, is that he has not come up in any of this, and that's by design, because it's going to be him and The Rock at WrestleMania.
Ooh.
Somehow, some way, we're getting to Roman and Rock.
I hope so.
We're not putting that off another year.
So if that's the case, then you're literally, if you think Roman and Rock is still happening, it would have to be Seth and CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
In some way, shape, or form, I think Seth is going to just lose his cool this weekend. And truly, maybe he gets eliminated by CM Punk or catches a stray from Roman Reigns or something, and he can take out CM Punk. And because in my prediction, I think it's gonna be John. I think it's gonna be CM Punk as the final two. Storybook stuff. But me and you both agree, since John Cena's playing this real underdog, he's gonna have to win it in some way that involves some form of interference.
You're right.
I think that'll be Seth Rollins coming back into the match, taking out CM Punk, and that is John's way to win the chamber and go face Cody in the main event.
Ooh.
That would be my prediction. I think because sometimes we can get a little too over the top with especially me with my bookings. I love making everything a triple threat match, and sometimes you gotta make it real simple. So what if Roman Reigns doesn't come back? What because you think it's Roman Rock. Why would he come back in this chamber then? So how does John win? Does he get a clean pin over CM Punk?
So it's hard with Roman because we know whether he slots in with Seth Rollins or CM Punk or a triple threat match with those two guys, he has to get inserted back into this somehow. You know what? It's a weird puzzle because he's a piece of it that has to fit no matter how you want to configure it. You have to have the Roman Reigns piece because there's no way Roman Reigns is not going to be on the WrestleMania card. So with having that knowledge, he has to fit in somewhere, and all of these storylines kind of wind up depending on him, which I guess is a huge compliment to Roman Reigns that he's not the champion, but you still have all of these storylines that are going to depend on him playing a pivotal role in it. I heard one theory, my apologies, I can't remember who it was where I saw it, but this is not my idea. But the general idea was that CM Punk wins the chamber and he goes on to face Cody, and his favor is making sure Roman Reigns is there to make sure The Rock doesn't get involved in the match somehow with Cody Lander. And I go, that makes kind of sense because you can keep The Rock involved with what's going on. It's kind of genius to begin with that if The Rock, past this Saturday, The Rock is going to have a corporate champion, whether that person has the title or not. They're going to be The Rock's guy, essentially. It means The Rock doesn't have to be on weekly TV because we have his mouthpiece. We have somebody speaking for him, which makes a lot of sense. So that's great for the story just coming up with that convention because it helps. You have The Rock has a mouthpiece going forward, and if you have Punk use his favor for Roman to keep The Rock out of the match at WrestleMania, now you could build to The Rock Roman for next year's Mania, which I don't like nearly as much because we've been sitting on this. The more time that goes by, the less people may get disinterested in this because people are starting to get fed up with The Rock's antics about this. So for me personally, it feels like it's now or never this year for that match. So we'll get there somehow. But I don't know how Roman gets involved, but there has to be something. And when you were just talking a minute ago, it made me think of something with the chamber that maybe somebody does screw somebody else in this match so John can win. And it's not that John is The Rock's little puppet. It's that The Rock wants him in the main event for WrestleMania because he knows that's best for business, is to have John Cena in it. And since John Cena can't do it on his own because he's the little engine that could now, The Rock has to help to make sure he gets the match that he wants. Because I was telling Will earlier today, too, if you go back to corporate Rock in 98, it's not like it was just Rock working with Vince, with Mr. McMahon. it was the corporation. There was a bunch of people involved in that stable. So it would be crazy if The Rock already has his people. Like, what if Punk is already one of The Rock's inside guys, and he just has been for a while
Yeah.
now? Like, that kind of stuff could be a oh my god moment, and it could also make a lot of sense with what we've seen. Now that would suck too, because I like this version of CM Punk, and I don't want him to be corporate Punk, but at the same time, he wants that main event really, really bad. Like, that's been his focus for months now, is that he wants to main event WrestleMania. So is he willing to make a deal with the devil to get his main event at WrestleMania? Maybe.
Knows?
Yeah.
I just think sometimes it's as wrestling fans, it's hard for us to really like. We oftentimes get disappointed with these big things because a lot of people are like, "Man, The Rock's coming back," and blah blah blah, and like, then people are upset that he's back, kind of just disrupting this whole entire WrestleMania scene. And now they're expecting, since he is back, this huge, ginormous, like it's CM Punk or it's John Cena. I think it's kind of right in front of us. I don't think we need to guess too hard, like you
Mm-hmm.
said earlier. I think it is Cody. I
Mm-hmm.
think Cody's turning heel, and as a guy that loves babyface wrestlers and a guy that loves Cody Rhodes, that's tough. But like, Cody's going to be a phenomenal heel. His heel
Yeah.
tendencies showing are already great, and I feel like some people might even be disappointed with that because we're coming off such a a big moment at last year's WrestleMania with the ending of it, but like that was really the end of a build up that lasted like a very long
Yeah,
time.
right.
Like we're talking from WrestleMania 38 all the
That's what
way
I was gonna say. Yeah.
to WrestleMania 40. And kind of
Mm-hmm.
even before that, you're talking about like the Brock Lesnar trilogy of matches versus Roman at WrestleMania. You're talking about a huge build up to a huge moment. I think as I'm kind of seeing the landscape of WrestleMania start to build, I feel like this is just going to be a WrestleMania we remember as part of the story to an even bigger finish.
Yeah.
I feel like WrestleMania 42 is going to be just as big as WrestleMania 40. They are just with guys like The Rock and Roman and John Cena. It is hard to build continuous storylines when they're not there all the time.
Right.
So I think you might end up with like a Cody and John, and that's a great match. It really is. But I don't know if you'll get Rock and Roman at this WrestleMania, unfortunately. And the thing with Roman, if he's not in the title picture or he's not fighting The Rock at WrestleMania, unfortunately, WWE fans, they really don't want him.
Yeah.
Me and you
Yep.
have talked about how disappointing that feud seems. So to me, I feel like we might just get like a Seth, CM Punk, Roman Reigns triple threat match, and it's just building to a bigger storyline towards the WrestleMania 42, hopefully. Because if we don't get The Rock and Roman by 42, like you said today when we were in the office, The Rock is not getting any younger. He's
Right.
going to be 50 some years old. So I guess, and he came out, and we didn't touch on this yet. He came out as Dwayne Johnson after Friday night's SmackDown, and he had a little press conference saying the storyline doesn't need to end in a match. Well, how disappointing would that be? It really would be a major disappointment if he didn't come back and wrestle at some point at
See,
all.
and he also said though it doesn't have to end with a match with Cody and I.
Hmm.
He specifically referenced Cody. He didn't say it doesn't have to end in a match with him and Roman or
Yeah.
anybody else. He specifically said Cody. Um, and that was actually my last note about The Rock. Nowhere in what has happened has he said the words, I'll be at WrestleMania. That has not happened. So
Mhm.
it's funny that everything that has happened seems like it has big implications for him being at WrestleMania. That's the one thing that has not been said yet. But
Yeah.
it really, one, it makes me think a little bit more about next year's WrestleMania with you just talking this through. That if you can have, like we talked about earlier, that The Rock, that Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and the final boss, I feel like are being all turned into the same person at
Yep.
this point. He is a Mr. McMahon 2.0, the character that he's the face of the company. He's the authority. He's the boss. He's the final boss. So now you have that authority figure again, like the Mr. McMahon character was, that you could really do a lot of work the same way you did with Stone Cold and The Rock. You always had that one heel, and it's not like he was involved in every single match, but there was other people doing things that pulled the strings. It was just by the mere fact of having somebody who legitimately had some authority. In Vince's case, all the authority. But in The Rock's case, they've pointed out, he's made a point of talking about how many shares he owns of TKO, and he's on the board. And last year in WrestleMania, I've talked about it a few times on here, that one of my favorite things is when he's yelling at the referee that he'll fire him or he'll be out of a job. And I go, he's doing that for a reason, because they were going to revisit that. And I think we've actually talked about it on this podcast, that we said that he might be coming back more in that capacity as a Mr. McMahon type character. I'm almost certain we said that. And I feel like that's where they're trying to go with it. And if that's the case, he doesn't have to be there all the time. He just needs the mouthpiece to be the face of the final boss on week to week. And he can inject himself into things and what he wants, what's best for business. That could even be his catchphrase now. We do what's best for business with the final boss and work it that way. But you could actually build it towards WrestleMania 42, that you finally have somebody who's, I don't know what you put on the line, but they used to do those in the past too, where we would have, control over the company and all that kind of stuff. I don't think we're going to go that direction anymore. We're past that. But it feels like maybe the long-term storytelling that they've been doing, this might just be one more part of that. And instead of getting frustrated about it, I think maybe we should listen to The Rock and just enjoy the ride, because this is fun. Not knowing what's going to happen is fun for once. It's real, we all want things to go a certain way, but the unpredictability and not knowing does make it a lot more fun, if you're being honest with yourself.
Yeah, no, that was kind of just my big point, is just like, don't be disappointed, wrestling fans, if because
Yeah.
you see these wrestling fans online, and oh man, am I about to go after the IWC? I might. The internet wrestling community is just, it's not great. They complain about everything. So like, to see a bunch of people get on The Rock, like, his promo sucked. It was the worst promo of The Rock's career. I'm not saying it was a great promo. He repeated himself a lot, and he's been rambling a lot when he's been out there. But The Rock is on television. Like, that is a good thing for professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And like you said, enjoy, like even The Rock says, enjoy the ride that he is taking us on, because I feel like this long-term storytelling is eventually going to pay off in something huge. It might just not be this year. So like, if you don't get The Rock versus Roman, or we don't get, a crazy triple threat match between Cena and Cody and CM Punk, like, just don't set your expectations to the moon every WrestleMania, because it just might not happen like that this year. We might need to build some blocks for something huge.
Right. I would tell everybody, go back to WrestleMania 17 at the end. The build up for that was huge because it was Rock and Austin again. But the real thrill came at the end when Stone Cold sells out to Vince. And we're starting that story now.
Yeah.
So WrestleMania isn't always about ending stories. Sometimes it's about starting new ones. And this WrestleMania may be a one of the rarities where we're in the middle of a story. That this is not the blow off. That this is the ramping up to what's going to happen. The Empire Strikes Back of
Mm.
of the story, the part where stuff's going to get dark. Like this might not be a happy WrestleMania
No.
if this kind of stuff is going to happen. Jey Uso beating Gunther, do that night one so everybody could feel good about something, because this final boss stuff, it may not be all fluffy and nice. It might be time to have a little bit of a edge to end one of these things in a holy crap moment.
Hmm.
I think we're about due for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And anyone that wants to complain about a John Cena Cody Rhodes main event that has implications of The Rock, I am going to make you sit down and go watch any of the Roman Reigns main events in the early part of his career. I will make you watch Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. It happened 3 times in a WrestleMania main event. Three. And it wasn't a good trilogy. They just ran that thing out there. Or you could, if you don't want to watch that, you can watch Roman Reigns versus Triple H when he is on the late side of 40. It was awful. It was an awful match. So like that's why I'm like you guys hear me. I'm so excited about wrestling and WrestleMania right now. It's because it is so much better than the product we had in the 2010s. Like it was a struggle to watch Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. It was awful, and Brock wasn't even there defending the belt in like normal. Like the storyline was Roman is just going to challenge Brock Lesnar because he's the only one that can compete with him. There was no storyline. Like
Yeah,
he didn't come out on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown and build a storyline. Nope, the match was set in place at the Royal Rumble every year. Roman didn't even have to win the Rumble. Like it just happened. So just be grateful that you guys are gonna get like we're all gonna get a halfway decent WrestleMania. It might just not be WrestleMania 40 every single year.
it'll be okay, everybody. Don't get so hung up on The Rock is ruining things. I
Yeah.
feel like I feel like the plan has been put together for a longer time than what everybody is giving it credit for. I don't think there's nearly as much of The Rock is changing things because of his schedule. I feel like there's a lot less of that, and this has just been what the plan is.
Yeah, I feel like with Jay winning the Rumble and them saying they've had that plan since December, there's a whole lot more planning with this new regime that they have um, of bookers than we think. Because I
Yeah.
think they must have had this planned out for a long time now. They knew The Rock was coming back,
Yep.
and I guess to kind of put a cap on all of it, I guess we can ask the question: do you think Cody Rhodes accepts the offer from The Rock on Saturday?
100%.
Oh, you think he's accepting The Rock's offer Saturday?
Oh yeah, I think it happens Saturday, so we can move the ball forward a little bit. I have one wild card that popped in my head a little bit earlier. What if Logan Paul is already a little puppet for The Rock?
What if he's in the chamber just to do things for the? Oh man, you're on to something here.
Because who's the one person who doesn't fit with what's going besides Damian Priest? But I feel like it would be like that would be kind of awesome if we find out that Logan Paul is already a stooge for The
Oh
Rock.
man,
Would be kind of cool
that would
because
be good.
people hate him already. They would
Yeah,
just hate him. Like he would be over as like a number one heel at that point more than he already is heelish.
I think he is not going to accept the offer yet. I think
Okay.
I think you're gonna get a pretty. If I were to give you my whole prediction in just a few seconds, I think it is. He says no. John wins the chamber. John versus Cody at WrestleMania. The Rock hits John Cena with a rock bottom. Comes out. He can even do it in front of the ref and be like, "I'm gonna fire you if you don't count this three right
True.
here."
Yep.
And the deal is done. And Cody is still your champion. And you build up to that all the way till next December, where you can have. I know they're doing like a um I forgot a ruthless. They're calling it
Yeah.
ruthless aggression,
Yep.
in Boston. You can build up to that and have him finally win number 17 then. Um, but I guess that would be my idea on what is going to happen. But who knows? Like you said, this is truly like unpredictable. I just put that together after, you know, this whole podcast.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what am I going to wrap this up with?
Yep.
So that was what I came up with. It is truly an unpredictable time in wrestling.
Yeah. And that's not bad.
No, it's
Not
not.
bad at all. Speaking of WrestleMania, this guy right here punched his ticket to Vegas. So my lovely wife and I will be there. At this point, it looks like we're probably going to hit NXT, um, Stand and Deliver. So we'll have boots on the ground, Wrestling with the Realm podcast. We'll have a man on site. So hopefully we'll be able to get some stuff to you guys from Ground Zero for WrestleMania. And for all you guys who are interested in the Realm Paranormal podcast, this Friday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, you guys can come on to YouTube, go to the Realm Paranormal podcast. We're going to have an hour and a half or so of a live investigation at the castle that the gang is staying in. I'll be hosting it. You'll be able to see Command Central. You'll be able to see all the monitors, so you guys will be able to look in on the investigation. We'll also have one the next day on Saturday for a little bit longer. That'll be starting at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. So everybody come over and check it out. But if nothing else,
Nothing.
I'm Brian. He's Will. We'll catch you guys next time.
Love you guys.
Peace. It's like not having Jade Cargill have to wrestle, but we can still keep her storyline going. Like, it's smart. So
Jade Cargill just catching a
sorry, Jade Cargill.
right there, man.